Gig Gab, episode 474, and Roadcase, episode 265.
Yeah, baby.
For the week, yes, of March 24th. March 24th is National Cheesesteak Day, 2025. Greetings, folks, and welcome to at least Gig Gab, the show by, for, and about working musicians. Here, as usual, in Durham, New Hampshire, I am Dave Hamilton, fresh back from South by Southwest, where I spent time with a friend that I've known for a couple of years and the host of Roadcase Podcast, Josh Rosenberg. Josh, thanks for being, we're each other's guest co-hosts today, man.
It's amazing, man. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Thanks for dreaming up this great thing to do. I'm honored and psyched to be here. I'm also psyched to be back at home and like not walking around and standing up all day and wearing my hat that created this horrible like rash on my forehead that I actually have cream for. I'm not going to apply it during the podcast. But as you know, I love my hats.
Josh is always wearing a hat except today. That's right. We both realize that for our shows, most of our audiences are audio. So most of you won't even have to see Josh's lack of hat, which is great.
So for the Roadcase audience where this is audio, you can go find it on, they can find it on Gig Gab YouTube, right?
GigGabPodcast.com. We'll have the YouTube link
when I talk.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can link to the YouTube too. GigGabPodcast.com.
Okay. All right. We'll figure that all out.
So
great to be here, Dave. Thanks.
It's great to do this together.
I'm in Chicago for the Gig Gab audience that doesn't know.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah. What I wanted to do was, I just came back from South by Southwest. We both just came back from South by, and my initial plan was to do a solo episode where I just sort of debriefed on what I did for South by, how I prepped for it, how I executed it in the moment, kind of navigated it in the moment, and then some of my favorite things that I saw, which is fine, and I've done that before, and I'm sure I'll do that again. But as soon as I knew we were going to meet up there, and I of course, I'm very aware of your show too, I thought, well, wait a minute. This is exactly the right time for us to do a crossover episode because we both get to do this. And here's the thing that I haven't said this to you yet, Josh. For people who don't know about Roadcase, or for people who don't know about Gig Gab, I can help contextualize this. Our podcasts are exactly the same, which is what makes them different. And by that, I mean, you and I both do shows where we follow our muses. We bring on guests that we're interested in, and therefore our audiences are interested in. And what's amazing is that I don't think either one of us has ever even approached the same guest, let alone had the same guest on. But the shows are basically the same.
True? Would you use ChatGPT and did that?
I should have. Oh, no, I'll do that while we're talking here. Of course.
By the way, everyone, Dave Hamilton is the master of using ChatGPT. All I do is just take notes when I talk to this gentleman. It's absolutely fucking amazing. But that's such an interesting aspect. Yeah. And it just speaks to the individuality of musical tastes, of musical interests, and how many lanes there are in this whole world that we can continue to do this. Well, we could do this for another however many years and probably not approach the same guest, and that's what totally makes it interesting. But
that's what makes it interesting. Yeah.
I like how you talk to, like, it's, working artists for work, by and for. What's your tagline again?
By, for, and about working musicians.
Yeah, right. Exactly. There's a little more roll up your sleeves and grit element to it. I'm as you know from hanging out with me at South by, and we talk about music, I'm really into the artist experience and who they are as a human and what they are. And I'm always like I'm getting into the artist area. I'm talking to these guys. I'm gabbing it up with people, and that's kind of how I approach it.
I love what you do. It's like,
and I love what you do.
It's great. Like that's why I say these shows are the same, and that's what makes them different. because we both approach them the same way. I ask the questions, I bring on the people that I'm interested in. We talk about the things I'm interested in. And most of the people that come on Gig Gab, you folks don't hear this, of course, but after we cut the tape, it's probably 50% of the time or more, people are like, you don't ask any of the questions I expect people to ask. And I'm like, oh, great. Okay. Like,
yeah, that's what you want to hear, man. I love
it.
That.
Is.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. I get that all the time. You know, it's like,
I was going to say, my guess is that you get the same thing. Yeah.
I do. Although I do try to honor, I always wonder, I do try to honor their recent, let me just stop. I'll start with, as you know, for a lot of artists that I cover, it has to do with the press cycle, right? So I'm bringing artists on. Right. When they have a reason, right? Because a lot of times there's publicists, a lot of times it's DIY when it doesn't matter, it's just up to the artist. But a lot of times there's publicists involved, there's managers involved, etc. So really when they want to be in a press cycle. Yeah. So I do try to honor the latest work and what they're doing gives us a little bit to talk about, but I don't ask, what's your fucking favorite color and things like that. You'd be surprised. You wouldn't be surprised, but they get those kind of ding dongy questions all the time when they're just doing like a press spray at fucking Lala,
Yep.
Right. And it's boring for them. It's totally boring for them. They appreciate rolling up the sleeves and just talking to them and getting them out of their comfort zone a little bit by asking some probing questions. I try to make that part of the natural conversation. And that's an easy thing for me to do.
It's who you are.
Yeah. So, and then I relate it to what their works are. So it all kind of dovetails really nicely for me.
Now, here's the thing. What we are going to do sort of the episode, I mean, as much as you and I can stick to an agenda, which I don't know is possible.
We've already just gone completely off the rails.
That's right. But I wanted to do a little bit of intro here. As part of sort of transitioning into how to do South by Southwest, I want to point out why we know each other. Because we don't know each other because we're both music podcasters. That was a happy accident. I showed up at Stubb's one night 2 years ago for a show at South by Southwest to see the
zombies.
The zombies, right?
Yeah, and that was Christian Bland and the Revelators opened for them.
Correct. That's right.
An amazing show.
It was amazing. So it was the opening band was playing. I got there during the 2023. 2023. Yep. So I get there and I do what I always do. I found where I wanted to stand in relation to the stage. This was at Stubb's, which is about a 2,000 person outdoor venue. You're kind of in the grass/dirt. I found that the best place from my vantage point is about 8 to 10 people back. So I get to where I'm 8 to 10 people back. Yeah. And then what I do is I look for the only other tall person there and I go stand next to them and I strike up a conversation. And I do this because the tall person is the only person that I don't want standing in front of me. The rest of the people, I'm 6'3", so like I can deal with most people being in front of me and still see the band just fine. But you are too tall to stand in front of me. And so that's why we got to know each other, is because I had to strike up a conversation with you. Yeah. And it turns out it worked out, So we know each other because we have similar music interests and we're tall.
And we also it's the whole go to shows, logistic things, where to stand, how to do it, what to do. I remember that set for meeting you as well. It was amazing music. Remember at the end of the Zombies, before they came back to play the giant hit?
Yes,
that all
she's
the
not
kids
there.
In the audience that don't know them, we're screaming one more song, and we were on the floor laughing because they're playing that song, right?
Yep.
But about the logistics, finding the place, finding where to stand, it's a whole fucking thing. We could write an entire book on that. But I will add here, and you'll find this funny. So this most recent year, somehow you ended up at a venue, and then I would just come in like a little bit later than you.
You would stalk me into the venue. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Now, anyone who's out there who's gone to a show with Dave, if you stand next to him, Dave will take the better vantage point. And I've only said this now because I became very conscious of the fact that And that's fair. It's 100% fair. But standing next to you means that I'm standing in front of the tall guy that you want to be just to the right of.
That I've moved out of the way of, obviously.
Oh, yes. I love saying, you and I both exchange a couple words here and there. We're not chompers by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
But I want to stand next to you, but that means that I don't have a good vantage. So I generally, if you noticed, I got a little farther away from you. Each consecutive show, and we did do quite a few shows together in 2025, I would always be a little bit farther away from you, unless there were like three small people lined up in front of us.
That's right.
We were on the rail for a moment at Frankie and the Witch Fingers, which we'll talk about.
I'm sure we'll talk about. Yeah. So I want to talk about kind of the whole thing, and where I want to start is planning for South by Southwest. I'm going to do, for Gig Gab listeners and for Roadcase listeners, if you want to come on this journey with me, I'm going to do 2 episodes about South by Southwest. I mean, it'll probably be more, but 2 very specifically about it. One from the standpoint of the attendee. That's this episode. And then I'm going to do another one from the standpoint of a band that played, I believe, 9 shows at South by Southwest this year. Oh. And they are excellent at self-promotion and kind of did the whole circuit. So we're going to get that vantage point too.
That's really cool. I'm going to listen to that one. Can you not say the name of the band? You not want to? You do.
Just in case it hasn't been recorded yet. So there's backup.
Yeah, don't
count
your count your chickens.
That's the only reason I don't want to say the name of the band
before they get in the van.
I will almost certainly say the name of the band in this episode. I just don't want to promise that that's the band I'm bringing on. Okay. But I'm pretty sure I am. Yeah.
Disclaimer.
So the planning for it here starts, for me, the planning starts long before I get on the ground in Austin. I obviously book my flights. I book my hotel. We'll talk about, hotels in a minute here, but in terms of the schedule, South by schedule evolves right up until the end of the festival. It changes. There's bands added. There's all kinds of things. Things get removed. There was a band removed halfway through the festival that I was going to go see, and then they just dropped off the face of the earth. Some band from like Argentina or something. Mm. So what I do is, starting probably about in January, South by Southwest is middle March. Starting about in January, the schedule starts to come around, and I start building links. And every Monday, I visit all of my links on the schedule. And the way I do it is I look at venues that I know are good places to see bands and sound good and tend to attract good bands. Mm. So I always look at the venues for Antone's, Stubbs, for ACL Live at the Moody Theater. Stubbs and ACL Live are the ones that are going to get your name brand bands. Like right. Benson Boone was at ACL Live. I was going to say Carrie Underwood, but it wasn't. It was Larkin Poe. Larkin Poe and Megan Maroney were at ACL Live. John Fogerty was at Stubbs. So you get kind of your name brand bands. And name brand bands are a fun part of South by, but the unknowns are equally as fun for me. I like going and finding new music. Yeah. I find Lambert's can be good. They tend to specify country music bands there, but some of those bands can be great. Like some of those harmonies are just killer. Cooper's Barbecue can bring in some fun blues bands. I never actually hit that. Mohawk is another venue that brings in like good showcases and bands. So there's several venues that I just keep going back to their schedule, and it will evolve week to week. And then all I do is I favorite the bands that I want to see. And I don't care about what's going to overlap with what. That is something I sort out when I'm on the ground in Austin. Yeah. And I just go through, and then when I get to Austin, I have like 4 things. And in addition to bands, I go there for the whole thing. So I go to sessions. I got to see, we saw John Fogerty and why can't I think of his name from Rage Against? Tom Morello speak. I saw. Well, and then Tom Morello sit in with John. And he also sat in at the gig. Yeah. I saw Brian Johnson, who's a crazy person, like health, life hacking, like biohacking kind of person. I saw him speak. Yeah. I saw the CEO, Jay Graber, the CEO of Blue Sky, speak. Like I could have gone to see Michelle Obama filmed and recorded the first episode of her podcast. And then I saw some movies too, which I'll talk about. So I put all these things on my schedule, and it, like, invariably there are things that are like, I have 4 things booked at any given time slot. And that is the beauty of it. And I'll talk about how I execute once I'm on the ground. But I'm curious, is what I do similar to what you do, or do you do things differently?
Well, I mean, I think you approach it from a very scientific standpoint a little
very
bit.
Much so.
You get on it super early, which is admirable, but completely different than me. Like,
okay,
I see the list of the names and I'm like I feel overwhelmed immediately.
Oh yeah.
But I start to kind of, because there's thousands of names. Like anyone who's listening to this that hasn't been, it's bonkers. This is not.
I think there were 1,100 bands that played this year.
There's no way. And we both saw, by the way, we both saw 39 sets.
Yeah.
And we came up with the exact number, and we'll figure out why that's so impossibly incredible that we ended up with all the options, that we ended up seeing the exact same number of sets. And we didn't go to all the same ones, obviously.
No, not at all.
For clarity. Yeah. We hung out a lot together, and that was great.
Probably 30% were together, I would think.
Yeah. I try not to beat myself up too much over it, because it's insane. Like, it's like 1,100 band. Like, I just know that things will come across my radar, and it'll always end up to be an amazing experience no matter what direction you go in. So, and I know that I'm going to see you there. I know that I'm going to see other people there. And I know that I'm going to talk to people in venues. What are you seeing? What are you doing? And one of the best parts of South by is that if bands come to South by, they're going to play 7 or 8 sets. I don't know I wonder what the average set play is. Very low would be 3. And there's just so much opportunity.
There are some bands
there's labels, there's media outlets that put out showcases, and that's always super interesting. So if a band is aligned with a particular media outlet, they'll play in one showcase, or their label will have another showcase. There's so many different opportunities to see a band. So that I always talk to people in venues, what's going on. That's kind of the approach I took this year. I'm like, I do a lot of networking. I go to the conference sessions. I talk to people, why you here, who you seeing? And then I kind of just start to build it from there. But I do go in to the app and set favorite. I'll click, I'll see names of people that day. Okay, I'm Wednesday. Who's playing Wednesday? And it's an impossibly long list for one day. 300 bands. I'm like, what the fuck? First, I'll click on the name of the band. And if it's out of my typical genre, then I'm probably not going to see it unless you have to have some barriers, right?
Yes, you have to. If you don't set barriers, you just lose it. Yeah, for sure.
I'm probably not gonna discover like an entirely new genre that I never thought I'd love. I mean, I'm sure it's out there, and I look forward to that. However, you got to limit it. So I use a little bit of the filter in the app where you can filter for classic or for rock, indie rock, all the genres. And I limit that to about 15 different genres, which just saying that sounds insane.
So I have a slightly different take on this that I did this year that worked way better. I don't launch the app until I am on the ground in Austin. I do everything on the website for this. It's scheduled at southbysouthwest.com. And it is so
something wrong. I was doing that and I wasn't seeing my favorite show up on the app. And
you have to make sure you're logged in.
I was. It won't let you favorite without logging in.
That's fair. That's right. But
online. On the website.
And what I did for the genres, I did the same thing that you did, which is what I've done in every previous year. I clicked the 15 genres that I'm into,
right.
And it was overwhelming. So I was like, well, wait a minute. Well, I don't have to do all 15 at once. I did them one at a time. And then I was at most looking at like 60 bands. But most of the genres were narrowed down to like 8 bands or 10 bands. And it was like, okay, now I was looking at the same number, but not all at once. And so it wasn't overwhelming. So I'm going to do that for future years.
I'm a little more fly by the seat of my pants, and it always ends up really well. I'm so happy with the bands I saw. I made some new favorite bands. I saw there were it's amazing. Out of
we'll talk about our
1,100,
favorite
there was
bands at the end of the episode for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
But 1,100 bands. I mean, probably I really wanted to see like 6 or something like that. I knew that, I can get this band again. Like, it's the beauty of South by is that there's just so much music there. And then I didn't even know that Preservation Hall Jazz Band was playing. And then you told me, and I was like, holy fuck.
I didn't know either. And that was probably, if I had to pick a favorite set of the week, I'm pretty sure it would have been
favorites later, Dave.
Okay, fine. We'll talk about favorites later. Sorry. I do want to add one.
But yes, it was my favorite too. Sorry, I didn't mean to shut you down.
No. You were correct too. Thank you. I wanted to add one more venue to this because I added Mohawk, but I found the Radio Day Stage venue wherever it is. Now it has moved around. When I first started going to the Radio Day Stage, it was a conference room in the convention center. Then they moved it outdoors.
The one that was in the corner,
up top in the corner,
more near Cesar Chavez.
Correct. Right. Way down. Yes.
Yeah, I've been to that one. There were some great acts. I just didn't hit that. And then so that's the one that was outside near the bike path this time.
They've moved it outside, and it was in a different spot last year. So they call it the Radio Day Stage. It does not have a permanent location. Yeah, and of course,
that's a hot tip.
Yep. And the sound is always good there. It's not. They serve alcohol there, so you can, like you're in a closed-in area, so that they can serve you alcohol if you want to buy it. Well, this year it was, but like it could be anything. Who knows?
When it's in the conference room, that's not like a bar venue kind of thing.
Well, but even when it's outside, it doesn't feel like a bar. You can go get a beer if you want, but you're not. The vibe is all music. It's not like there's no one there that's not there primarily for the music, and that. I love about that venue. And I saw in previous years, Gary Clark Jr. there before anybody knew who he was. The Alabama Shakes there about 3 days before anybody knew who they were. Wow. That one I walked into 3 days later, they were playing somewhere else. And the type of badge that I had was the only reason I was able to get in. It was packed like wall to wall. I saw Vampire Weekend on the Radio Day Stage. Like they book really good bands there.
Who's in charge of the booking of that venue?
It's South by. Yeah. Okay.
And Dave, I don't think let me just stop you for a second, because I don't think you mentioned how long you've been going to South by.
Oh. All right. Let me do the math.
Because
hang on.
A lot of the tips and like to contextualize them, it's amazing because you've been going for quite a while.
I was a fool, by the way. I lived in Austin and bought into the South by So What vibe, where everybody in Austin, there's a strong sentiment against going to South by Southwest. It's like, oh, there's too much traffic. Downtown doesn't feel right. There's too many people here. And so I just bought into that. It's okay, so you don't go. Yeah. I was back in 2008. We at Backbeat Media were opening an office. We had 2 people down there, so we rented some office space. We were building IKEA furniture. Because of our relationships with the website that I had at the time, Mac Observer, with South by, I had a badge to be able to go to events. And for some reason, I was staying downtown. That part's still, I'm not sure why that happened, but it happened, right? Mm-hmm. So I was finished building IKEA furniture. Like I had booked way more days than I needed to like get our office up and running, which was fine. It was nice to go like hang out and be there. And I was there on a Wednesday. And basically back then, Wednesday was the day the music festival would really get kicked off. And it was like 2:00 in the afternoon. I was in our office, and I was like, well, everything's done here. We don't need to have yet another pizza party building furniture tonight, so what am I going to do tonight? I'm like, well, I have that South by badge. Let me look. And so I look on the schedule, and it's like, oh, Van Morrison is playing at La Zona Rosa. REM is playing at Stubbs. Like, I freaking know what I'm doing tonight. Like, holy crap. Yeah. And I've come every year since.
There goes the local snobbiness goes right out the window when you hear names that you like.
I was stupid. I called my wife the next day and I was like, Lise, we were dumb. We used to live 20 minutes from this. And we opted not to go. Yeah. And that's our fault. That's on us, Yeah. And so I've been every year since, other than 2020, which it was canceled at the very last minute. So I think that means I've gone 16 years now.
Wow. Right.
Yeah. But
So when
I
we
want
talk
to,
about your experience, it's like, it's vast.
And it's evolved. It's different.
It does evolve. Yeah.
The way you do South by.
About that too. It's evolved a little bit in just the 3 years that I've been going.
And I want to share, though, that South by is evolving substantially between this year and next. Two major things are happening. One is that the Austin Convention Center is being demolished, rebuilt, basically starting now, and won't be finished until January of 2029.
Right.
So that means 26, 27, 28 will not have a convention center. Now, a convention center is largely unnecessary for the music, like the played music portion of the conference. For the music sessions, the conference, like the daytime conference sessions, those will need to be somewhere else. And they will. They'll be at different hotels. And like most of South by is at the convention center these days, but a lot of it happens. Like there's conference rooms at the Hilton, there's conference rooms at the Marriott. And so they've already sort of spread beyond the convention center in that way. But the other big thing that's happening is the length of South by Southwest is getting shorter. It previously would run Thursday to the following Sunday. So, 11 days or whatever that works out to be. Next year, it is Thursday through Wednesday. And that basically cuts out what would have been the final weekend of South by that was mostly just music. The film festival would spill into it too, because films take a long time to watch. So film festival basically runs the whole length of it. Right. So I reached out to South by Southwest and asked them about this, because I was like, certainly for the purposes of this episode, but even just personally concerned, like, are they chopping off, 3/4 days of music?
No, they're including, aren't they doing 7 days of music is what I read. That
you are correct. Well, right. I'm glad that you read that somewhere, because all the reports I read were doom and gloom. No one bothered to reach out to them, because what they said was it will be a shorter South by Southwest. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I will read verbatim at a point here. But they said, we believe it's a great opportunity to put new ideas into action. This is related to the convention center closing down for 3 years. Mm-hmm. A shorter South by gives attendees more of a chance to be here for the entire run, with conference, film/TV, and music all taking place concurrently over 7 days. And that's the key. Concurrently over 7 days. This is the new part. Everyone will have a chance to experience the whole of South by Southwest. And this gives music fans an opportunity to enjoy 7 nights of showcases instead of the 6 we've had for several years. But I love this because...
I'll tell you what, though. All right, you tell me why you love it, and I'll tell you the problem I have with that.
Great. So the reason I love it is I always have to kind of make Sophie's choice in terms of when I'm going to arrive, because I know I want to stay through the end of music.
Yeah.
But my other podcasts kind of happen, the content for those sort of happens before music starts, which means I got to get there. I really should be getting there Friday morning, Thursday night, and staying through Sunday. But I usually don't. I usually go on Saturday, and I cut out basically 2 days of the thing, because that way I'm only gone for 8 days instead of 10. Right. This, I get to go for 8 days because I'll come in the night before. Yeah. And then I get to see everything, because it'll all be happening on top of each other. And what's cool is the friends of mine that come just for, the tech part of the conference, which they just call the conference now, will be able to go out those nights and see music, as opposed to saying, hey, is there some private party that I need to get an invite for tonight? It's like, don't need to worry about it. Just go see some music.
True. I may be looking at a negative potential outcome, but to have film and TV people there the entire music time, I kind of look at that like, oh shit, are they just going to, well, while they have the opportunity to, a lot of the film and TV people that I meet, albeit very interesting people and doing completely different things than I do, which is great. And it's part of the beauty of South by Southwest, that it's all media, and every single person that you meet is doing something really cool in either film, TV, or music. But is that going to kind of jam film and TV into, oh, well, I'm here anyway because there's still film and TV events going on in the conference. I'll go out to see some music tonight. Because prior, it was kind of like there was a natural end of film and TV Am I wrong?
Yes, that is incorrect. I was shaking my head, so okay. Josh knew. Yeah, film and TV in previous this year was a little bit different because they lost access to the Paramount movie theater, which if you're going to see movies, I mentioned the venues that I check. The Paramount is another venue that I check, but not for music, although there's a lot of music movies, and we'll talk about some of those. But they only had access to the Paramount through Wednesday or Thursday this year, which was atypical. Usually they have the Paramount all the way through. Paramount's a 1,200 seat theater right in downtown, movie theater. And like last year, Ben Affleck's Air premiered on the final Saturday night of South by at the Paramount. So yeah, film always happens all the way through. And this year it technically did.
I just feel it's kind of it was front loaded a little bit.
It was more front loaded this year because they didn't have the Paramount, which is where they sort of like to do the premieres.
Okay.
So yeah, so I think I kind of like the idea that people are going to have to make, and South by is full of Sophie's Choices.
Oh, it's all about. They should call it the Sophie's Choice Festival, literally.
It's true.
It's insane.
But like the people that are there for film will have to choose between, I want to go see the premiere of this movie, and I want to go to, see whatever the name brand band of the night is, Benson Boone or John Fogerty or, Megan Maroney or whatever, whoever that is that night. You're going to need to make those choices. And I mean, I'm going to have to make them too, because I kind of go for a lot of different things. But hopefully the people that are there for film will be like, I guess I got to choose the film thing.
Right.
And that kind of comes down to which badge do you buy? Because each badge does different things. And there is one badge to rule them all. That is the Platinum badge. But the way badges work at South by, there is an interactive badge. That's for the interactive conference portion of things. Mm-hmm. There's a film and TV badge, and there's a music badge. And you can buy them individually, or you can buy the Platinum, which is all three. I go as media. I've always gotten a Platinum badge so that I can see and attend all of the things. I do 3 podcasts. I joke with South by that they created the Platinum badge for Dave, because I'm there for music, I'm there for the tech stuff, and I'm there for like the film and TV. That feeds more content to my Business Brain podcast than anything else. I'm often watching movies. Like I went and watched a movie about Rocky Horror, a documentary on Rocky Horror, thinking that I was going to cover it for Gig Gab, and I might. But halfway through the movie, I'm like, this is a business story. They were brilliant with what they did. And we're going to do like an episode and a half on the Rocky Horror thing for Business Brain. Oh, so the movies really, like that, it becomes more business for me. But so I wind up with the Platinum badge. If you get the music badge, you can't go to the film and TV events as primary. You might be allowed in for some of them for secondary. Like the Rocky Horror one was part of the music part of the film festival. They call it 24 beats per second. So you can get into that. That's fine. But like, the Accountant 2, Ben Affleck's movie that premiered this year, the music badge was, if it was allowed in, it was secondary to film and Platinum badges. So do
you want to talk about the value of having the Platinum and the Express passes and that whole thing?
Let's do it. Yeah. Tell them what Express passes are.
Well, Express passes, you can go in, like I only got the music badge, so I didn't have a Platinum pass. Music badge enables you, so going back to the app, if you want to go to a particular show, you think it's going to be popular. With the music badge this year, you got 2 Express passes per day.
Okay.
So, and you have to go in.
What does the Express Pass do?
The Express Pass allows you to bypass all the lines and get right into a venue no matter what. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Which is a super handy thing to have. It really came in handy for Black Keys 2 years ago. I did not need it at all this year, and I didn't. So Platinum how should I handle this? Like badge, if I have the music badge, it has the day before at 10 a.m. the day before. So
9 a.m. the day before.
9 a.m. for Platinum, maybe. No, it was 10 a.m.
Oh, no, it was 9 a.m. for everybody.
9 a.m. All right, 9 a.m. You're right.
Okay.
I didn't get it wrong. I remember doing it once. And Yeah. I was actually trying to get a platinum pass while my flight was lining up on the runway on my way out on Tuesday for a show on Wednesday.
Oh, an express pass, you mean?
An express pass, right.
Yes, right.
And actually, so it was sold out already right at 9 a.m. And then my plane took off. It was good timing, but I didn't get the platinum pass anyway.
Express pass. I got you.
Man. You got nice to have a little safety net.
Yeah.
The express pass. Because you platinum people get in 2 days before.
So that was new this year. The express passes in the past. You're right. The film and music badges would get 2 per day. Platinum would get 4 per day in previous years.
Do it the day before.
No. In previous years, Platinum got 4 per day. Film and music each got 2 per day. Right. And everybody was able to request them at 9 a.m. the day before. So if you wanted to get into a show on Wednesday at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, you would go online and I would set up tabs in my browser and refresh like a maniac and click in the right places to get it all done. Because if it's a popular thing, within 10 seconds, all of the express passes are gone.
Right.
And this year, the only time I saw express passes go quickly was for movies. I never saw them go quickly for music venues, which was atypical. However, that was because this year, for the first time, as you alluded, Platinum people got an extra 24 hours. So for me, for a show on Wednesday, I got to get my express pass. Now you got me doing it on Monday.
Well, maybe it's just not me, man.
Ahead of everybody else. And it was, it was nice to have that buffer where it was just us Platinum people, but it didn't matter for the films. If I didn't, I could, and this year Platinum badges got 5 of them. So I would line up 5 things. I'm like, I might as well use them all, 'cause you can return them if you're not going to use them and get another one. And so I would line up 5 things before I went to bed, and I'd set my alarm for 8:50 a.m. so that I'd be awake and ready to go.
Right.
I'd make sure my browser was still signed in. And then I'd go in order of what I thought was either the most important to me or the most likely to sell out.
Right.
And there were days where there was one that was this is a make or break for me, so I have to do this as my first.
Yeah.
But a film would be number 3 on the list or 4, and I wouldn't get it. The only way I'd get films is if they were one of the first 2 that I grabbed.
Would you ever do a film first if there was a music one that you really wanted to go to, but you do the film anyway? It's kind of a judgment call, and you never know whether you're right or wrong, or who knows.
You find out afterwards if you're right or wrong.
Well, I mean, whether you chose the right order, because it's a guess as to what you think is going to.
It's a guess, and I learned through the week this year that it was the music ones aren't going to all be used until the music people can get to them the next day. There's enough film people with Platinum badges that all the films would just instantly
what's your calculus for music people with Platinum passes?
There aren't as many.
Does that not make sense? And by the way, I looked for kind of a grid with what the Platinum perks are for next year, and I could not find it. Even when I went to the early access pricing tab, it just has a price for early Platinum purchase, right now, fairly reasonable.
It's $1,200 as opposed to $2,200. That's right.
Yeah, I didn't find, when I click on Platinum, it just says buy now. I was on this.
Yeah,
page.
that's right.
What the hell does Platinum incur? Why are they assuming that we know what Platinum is?
Well, they say
because they changed, and I'm saying that because they changed what Platinum offers you from the prior year.
In terms of the 24-hour difference between
that was important to know. If that's going to be for next year, I'll probably pop the extra money for it.
Oh, you know what? I will. I didn't even think to ask them about that. I will ask them if they plan to keep that policy in place for next year. I'll report on it in the next episode.
There was no way. There were Platinum holders that were going to a lot of music events.
Totally.
For the biggest ones, there was no way I was getting it for the music badge. Where last year I did, and maybe that was just because the Black Keys played 2 nights. No,
it was because you got to pick your Platinum badges at the same time as everybody else.
Right,
That's why.
So being able to do it a day ahead of time is a good marketing strategy, but I need to know whether that's going to be a thing next year.
Yeah, we did not. I didn't know that until maybe a couple of weeks before, maybe.
That seems to be a little bit egregious, but what does it entail?
Yeah. No,
Right,
I agree. They need to communicate that in advance.
Please let us know, because
I'll help.
I want ahead of time.
I'll help them communicate it in advance.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then I will point out there's also a wristband that you can get that is a secondary entry for music venues. This year, on site, the wristband was $189 versus the music badge, which I think was like in the $600 range, and maybe higher by the last minute. Of course, it's a conference, so the earlier you buy, the cheaper it is. That's just normal standard fare. But the music badge was $189 on site, $149 if you had bought it in advance, and the wristband. Sorry, I said the music badge. I meant the wristband was $189 on site, $149 in advance, and I had 3 friends in Austin that used only wristbands this year to get in. And
that just lets you go to just any show you want. You can't go to the conference, or
you can't go to the conference, and you are not
priority entry.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's the biggest VIP perk ever to just walk into any venue. That's one of the beautiful things about South by Southwest is it's like, I mean, you and I went Mohawk, then we went over to Stubbs to see David Shaw, and then I went back to Mohawk. I mean, we're going to talk about what shows we saw. I went to like 6 venues in one day, like across the street, down the thing, jump on the Lime, scooter, do that whole thing. That's the most amazing thing about South by for me.
Yes. No, for those of us that are paying to travel there, the incremental cost of the badge becomes, I don't want to say a rounding error, but it would be, the money that I spent to travel and stay and eat and all of the things there is worth more with a badge than it would be with just a wristband. The wristbands are primarily for Austin residents. And I saw something where they're going to have a film and TV wristband for next year. That is, you have to have a billing address that is in the like Austin and San Antonio area.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But I would say also, I would do a plug for South by and say, even if you're living in Texas or Austin or whatever, that $500, I mean, if we divide it by 40, we saw 40 sets.
Yeah.
Buy the badge. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know why you wouldn't buy the badge. People are spending way more to go to Jazz Fest and do a VIP pass at Jazz Fest, just as by way of example, for one weekend. Okay. That $500 that it's on right now at their early bird price. And I'm not just saying this because you didn't tell me to like plug Southwest hard.
You don't have to. No, they're not paying us for this. No, we get to be honest.
Yeah. I'm being honest. That's an incredible fucking deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll probably do platinum early now because, well, once you let me know what the perks are, because I'd like to know if you find that
I'll find out. I'll definitely.
By the way, how long is, for people that are listening, how long is early bird going? Oh, I think early bird's going on to the end of March. I kind of had that in my head as something that I may have seen somewhere. So
they do not say anything on. Oh yes, there's going
to be
there
an
it
ending
is.
day.
During our special pre-sale through March 31st.
Right there in the headline, Dave.
Yep. So yes, I will ask them today, and we'll get this out. I will post it to our socials because I won't have the information early enough to get it into the next episode
on Roadcase.
Great.
So,
okay.
Because with my lame brain, late person, I'm like, I didn't know I was going to go to South. I didn't decide for this year until like December, and I paid as much for the music badge as a couple $100 less than what the platinum badge costs now. So I'm using that as my rationale.
That's the right rationale.
And then I got to have this cool gray lanyard like you. I mean, come on.
My wife told me this year she has never gone with me. She loves live music. I tell her every year we should get you a badge and you should come. Like the hotels
and see shows with you. How tall is she, Dave?
She's short. I can stand behind her and see just fine. It works out great.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And she's always like, I don't think I would like it. I think it would be too much. I think it would be overwhelming. And one morning, I think it was like Friday morning or Saturday morning, I called her and, just to chit chat or whatever, and telling her all excited about the shows that we had seen. Friday was like a killer day. And
it was insane.
Friday was great. And I told her about all the things that I saw, and she's like, all right, I just want to say this. This is not a complaint at all. She's like, I want to say it out loud so you can remind me. I am jealous that I am not there. And I really think I want to go next time. And I was like, okay, well, we can solve that by buying you a badge today. She's like,
right.
Well, I don't know that we should spend the money. I'm like, okay, well, you got to decide before the end of March because that's when.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to buy my pass by the end of March.
Buy the badge. Yep.
And
I will put a link in the show notes, obviously, to that.
Yeah. And kind of as a footnote before we move on to like the conference being in different hotels, my own experience is that I go for music, and while I did go to a couple conference sessions, I think the value for me is in the music, and that's not going to change over the course of the 7 days. I'm a little bummed that everyone's not going to be in the same convention center like they have been over the past couple of years since I went and to date, but these ballrooms are big. I would hope that they would have the same kind of like little network area and set it up so, people can hang out.
Even this year,
conference sessions.
Even this year, I would say 40% of the sessions that I saw were not in the convention center.
Oh, really?
I had to bounce around Austin.
Convention center.
Yeah. No, the things that I wanted to see. And in fact, the media lounge, because I attend as press, the media lounge was not in the convention center this year. It was in the Hilton.
Oh, I don't know. Is that near the convention center?
Yeah, in fact, it connects to the convention center with like a sky bridge.
A sky bridge across.
I assume that's going away, but yeah.
Yeah, right. It'd probably fall down once they destroy the.
They might want to take that down first.
They might want to. Don't forget to figure out the bridge, guys. Thanks.
Yep. The sky bridge came in handy one day. I will talk about that. But
okay, I've never had the pleasure of walking across the sky bridge.
Yeah.
But in the conference center, I love where all those little conference rooms were. Where we were that day with the Taylor Tomlinson and LP Joby day that you tried to figure it out. Dave and I, of course, can we talk about gaming the system only slightly, or should we not do that?
I don't know. You could talk.
No, John Fogerty, Fogerty thing when you were going to
keynote. You mean?
The keynote with Tom Morello because you were going to save me a spot because you had platinum, which is kind of against the rule-ish.
I mean,
but the funny part was what happened was that when I was going to meet you in line, I walked by the exit door and just walked in the exit door as people were leaving from the prior session. I ended up saving you a seat.
You saved me a seat. Yeah, that's right.
Just other people were doing it. I just followed.
Yeah. No, the sessions
are always happening.
The sessions were good. I've seen some great sessions over the years. I saw one with Robbie Krieger a few years ago where he was talking about his time with the Doors. I mean, it was like, and there were like 12 of us in the room.
Oh shit! Really?
I saw
it. John Fogerty though. That was special though because it's such a special time in his career right now. Having gained back the rights to his music and being able to play them, and then we just saw them the night before with Tom Morello on a couple songs, and that I felt that really kicked off South by for me in like a giant way. Being able to do that, and that was like an incredible set that we saw. And it was our second time at Stubb's, being able to hang out, or third time at Stubb's. I can't remember. No, third time because we had Black Keys in the middle there.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it was special. So it was a really great way to kick off the night. And I want to also thank you for saying that you weren't going to go hard that night after John Fogerty because on Tuesday it was the only set that I saw.
Yeah, same.
And then I went to bed. So thank you for that, because that is important. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint, because I would have found myself at the third. Someone was asking me, so how'd you do? How'd you hold up and stuff? Well, I didn't drink a lot of alcohol, which was super key. I stayed in a super duper comfy hotel this time. I busted out for that one. Okay. Yep. And I also said I didn't do any, and this is just completely subjective comment, any useless late night venue hangs.
Yes, I find
myself. I love the 13th floor vibe so much, and I go in there, and like a couple of guys from the Black Angels will be in there, and I'll start chatting with them, and then like 3 bands will play, and I'm like, "What time is it?" Oh, it's 2:30.
Yep,
and and which is fine. That would be okay if you had a good reason, then I'll do that.
I am ruthless. You
are
learned
really
this.
Good.
I am ruthless with my time.
This thread was to thank you for making me not, and you did that the year before after Black Keys. It was the last night. I'm like, dude, come on, man. You joined me at the 13th floor after the Black Keys set, for one, and then you were like, no, I got to pull the plug. This is it, and I left with you. So
Yep.
thank you on 2 accounts.
Yeah, there you go. You're welcome. No, I am ruthless with my time. But I like.
Well, more importantly, ruthless with your sleep.
That's what it is I'm ruthless with my sleep.
And I'm using you generally. You gotta get good sleep because it's an assault. It's an 18-hour assault on your legs and just on your body. I felt pretty good when I got home. I mean, I did sleep all day yesterday, pretty much.
Okay.
You may have noticed. Yesterday, I got back to you finally at like 8 p.m.
8 p.m. or something. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, what I will say is I am ruthless with my time, but I also, part of the joy of doing South by is discovering the things you didn't know you were going to discover, right? So there's certainly like, oh, I've heard about this band, or, I saw their YouTube clip and now I'm interested and I'm going to put them on my schedule. But staying after that band or getting there early for a band, to the venue, you're going to see the band before them. Most of the conference, and when I say most, I mean like 99% of it, are bands playing 40-minute sets that start on the hour. So they play from whatever, 7 p.m. to 7:40, and then the other band rolls over, and at 8 p.m. they start.
Yep.
And by and large, it holds to schedule. There are some things that slip a little, but it's pretty
hardly. It is insanely like
it runs like a clock.
That I tell people is the biggest secret about the music business is that it starts on time. And I'm not talking the big giant acts that are assholes and Janelle, whomever,
but they
don't show up on time.
But like even big tours, like if they say it's a 7:30 start and they don't start till 8:05. That 8:05 is the time that they were planning to start. Yeah, that's right. Yes, that's on the list and backstage.
These days, you can always find out, right?
You find out, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to make one point though, because even if it's a band I have no idea who they are and plays a style of music that might not be to my liking, I have found that I can not just tolerate, but enjoy 40 minutes of many things, because this is their shot and this is their best, in their opinion, their best 40 minutes that they can possibly put out on a stage. Exactly. And that's infectious.
It really is.
I encourage people not to just leave when you're like, oh, I'm not really into like groove oriented electronica with, a drummer and a sequencer. It's like, you know what? Try it. You can leave after one song.
Right.
That no one's stopping you. You paid. You already paid. Like, it's all good.
And the flip side of that is that bands are coming into these environments where it's a lot. I remember when we saw Dutch Interior indoor and they say, hello, badge holders. Like, it's people, it's not necessarily the crowds that they're used to playing to. But when you think about it from the artist standpoint, they gotta fucking bring it anyway, hard.
Because nobody out there is friendly.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you mean that in a poetic, we're not throwing tomatoes or anything like that. No, we're not really giving them the energy that they're generally used to because it's not a room full of fans, quote unquote. I'm a fan, we're all fans of music, but they're industry people there for specific reasons, and we're being very critical, not in a bad way, but you and I are saying, oh, look at that, check that out. The guy lost his stick, blah, 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 blah. Yep. And they're having to bring that energy into, for lack of a better word, a hostile environment or a different environment that's not filled with fans. And that's an interesting thing I want to talk about artists with when I have a number of different artists. And we're going to get to which bands we saw. And I really had a great South by in talking to bands and knowing that I'm going to have them on at some point. And we'll talk about that kind of thing. But that is, and I wanted to mention before was also many of these really great venues, they have 2 stages or 3. Hotel Vegas has 3. So they're not only on time on the main stage at Mohawk, but then when they come off the stage at the 40 after the hour, then you step into the other room where they started at half past the hour. They're already 10 minutes in. You squeeze your way in there. Do I like them? Yeah, I do. I'm going to stay for a little bit. And then if you don't, you can just pop out and get a better space at the outdoor Mohawk. Same thing at Empire Garage versus Empire Control Room. Same thing at Hotel Vegas, where you've got the patio and the Volstead and whatever the bathroom room is.
Right. The Volstead is the bathroom room, and then there's the other room, whatever that
You're
is.
laughing
But
because the men's room opens basically into the vent. Like if you're
it basically opens onto the stage.
The singer can see you. They'll see you your back when you're peeing if the door's open.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
Yep. All right. It's almost
that's
time.
One of the greatest things.
It's almost time to talk about bands. We're doing a promo swap with another show here that I wanted to share, right? Because here at Gig Gab, we're about always be performing. That's our catchphrase for those of you who don't know with the Roadcase thing. But sometimes performing means laughing at how weird the past really was. And that's why we're here talking about the show called That Aged Well, a podcast where Xennial best friends Paul and Erika dive headfirst into the pop culture classics of their youth, our youth. And let's just say some of it did not age well. From the questionable life choices in Can't Hardly Wait to the stuff we totally forgot about in Teen Witch, they'll have you laughing, groaning, and maybe cringing just a little, but also crying. Like definitely that too. Think of it as your backstage pass to relive your favorite movies and TV shows, but this time with the wisdom of hindsight and the bonus of two funny guides. New episodes drop every Monday wherever you get your podcasts, and it's true, Paul and Erika will make you feel seen, even if you once owned Frosted Tips and a Discman. So check out That Aged Well at thatagedwell.com and tell them Gig Gab and Roadcase sent you. Yeah. Because reliving your past is way more fun when you're not the only one who's embarrassed about it. Again, thatagedwell.com. Go give them a listen. And our thanks to Paul and Erika for doing this swap with us.
My question is, did they go back to like 60s sitcoms and Gilligan's Island, or did I not age well? And now we're looking at 90s stuff and talking about it. And that's old for everybody. I think because what you and I may have listened to when we got home from school is completely different.
Well, because we were watching reruns when we got home from school. So
like my favorite Martian was from like 50s or something.
Let's see. The recent episodes are Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, documentaries, Duran Duran, and something. Let's see. Another one. Heroic Nuns, Ouija Strategies, and a Wig. Some Kind of Wonderful, Teen Nightclubs, Stalkerish Behavior, and a Tater Tot. So, yeah. There's all kinds of things here. Yeah. So thanks to Paul and Erika for doing the swap with us. All right. We've made it to the end here, but we're not at the end because it's time to talk about the bands that we saw.
What about quick food suggestions? Do we not have time for that one? Quick shout out to the Caribbean food truck.
The quick shout out. We have to give a quick shout out to the Caribbean food truck. There's a food truck pod in Austin, and food trucks are a great way to kind of get some food on the go while you're in between venues.
It's on Red River between 7th and 6th.
That is correct. Yeah,
that's right. On the west side of the street.
And there's one that I stumbled by last year. They call it the Original Taste of the Caribbean. And I got this like shrimp and rice bowl from them. And it was delicious last year. So I was like, all right, I'm going to make sure I have that at least once this year. I had it twice. So, yeah.
Okay. Quick shout out to them. And their reusable cup, which is completely and utterly impractical and kind of useless. Pineapple. They give you a plastic pineapple, and if you bring it back, they'll refill it for you. But who's like, what am I going to go into a venue with this thing?
They're not going to let you into a venue.
Holding my pineapple cup. No, but also
what you got to do is when you go into the venue.
You didn't. Did you go to Cooper's this year? Barbecue?
I did not. No,
I
didn't go to Cooper's. Okay, so there you go.
It's so much. I mean, it's like I don't know. It's better than any barbecue I can get in Chicago.
There weren't any bands that I wanted to see at Cooper's, and so that's usually when I eat there.
My hotel was closer to there.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to hit it on the way to the venues from there.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. So,
cool. This is fun, man.
Yeah. All right.
We do this for the rest of the afternoon, or.
I got to go to band rehearsal, but before I do, let's talk about some of our favorite bands. You go first, and you're going to list. We saw a lot of the same shows, maybe 30-40% the same. Yeah. So you're going to list some things.
Kept joking like, how's this going to play for all the same shows? But I'm thinking like, we always have different perspectives. Like, yeah, it's so much fun to go together. I'd have to say my favorite set was Preservation Hall.
Yeah.
Because it was such a small venue, Mohawk, it came as a surprise, so it wasn't really on the docket. And Charlie Daniel.
Charlie Gabriel?
Charlie Daniel. That's not the first time I did that. Charlie Gabriel, incredible. To see him play, I was almost in tears. It's just a historic New Orleans artist that actually played in the Aretha Franklin band.
I didn't realize he played with Aretha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And Lionel Hampton, it turns out. Yeah, look at that.
And he's played...
he's 92 years old.
He's 92, going to be 93 in July. Doesn't necessarily play a lot with Prez Hall, obviously, for certain reasons. He was sick for a little bit. Now he's back and better. And just what a kind of like a shining light of a human also, which does check out for just the Preservation Hall overall vibe, as you saw.
Yeah.
So I was emotional when he came out, and remember the photographer that was there. He was like, he split after a couple songs, and then he came back because he said he heard them saying that Charlie Gabriel was coming on.
His name is Brian. I'm pulling it up. Hang on. His name is Brian Lasky, Boni Diego on Instagram. So we'll put a link to it. He takes some great pictures, including some of Charlie. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So that had to be my favorite. I mean, they opened with the 15-minute Ico. That was incredible. I don't know. I love New Orleans music, so that was one of my favorites. Yeah,
that was my favorite. Absolutely. That was one of the best sets of the weekend for sure.
Yeah. And we got shade, which is always important. It was a really hot day that day.
Yeah, it was like 92 degrees. All right, what else? We probably want to wrap this in like the next 10 or 15 minutes. So I think we can go through our bands that quickly.
We got it. Yeah. I feel comfortable with that. So how do you want me to roll through this? I mean,
just roll through yours for a little bit, and then I'll do like 2 or 3 more, and then I'll do a couple, and
okay. I finally caught an LP Joby set. She's a DJ, and that's kind of well known in the jam band community now for doing remixes of Garcia's first solo album, which is really interesting. Has got her involved in a really big way, and she's been super embraced by the jam band community. So I finally got to see a set of hers, and I just had her on the show. So for anyone out there that wants to listen to her story, it's super interesting. She is just everywhere all the time. Super hard worker, doing so many. She plays like 300 sets on the road a year. I would not say that I operate in the DJ electronica lane, but like I do on Roadcase, I love covering the stories of artists, and every artist has an amazing story, and her story is really compelling one. She's also the global music director of W Hotels, which I find really interesting, which is why I stayed at W this year.
Nice.
So I finally got to catch up with her there and see her set, and that was really cool and special. Honey Glaze, at your recommendation, I saw them also at High Noon, another great where Paste Magazine does their showcase. They have 3 days of music on 3 different stages. Like I said, they have 3 stages. So immediately when the main stage ends, and I'm talking, this is the back patio, and there's another band there, and there's also a smaller stage in the indoor, air conditioned, by the way, little roadhouse, and that's run by I wish I could shout out his name, but he founded Paste Magazine, and we talked for a minute, and now I can't remember his name. I'm sorry about that.
No, so I Honey Glaze is I said there was a story about the walkway, the outdoor like archway between the convention center and the Hilton. It is exposed to the elements. You're safe up there. But I was walking across from the convention center to the Hilton, and this walkway overlooks that Radio Day stage, or at least where it was this year.
Uh-huh.
And as I'm walking, I hear some band starting their set, and there's like interesting rhythms happening and weird stuff. And it's like, wait a minute, this is catchy, but they definitely like understand prog music. Like I need to go see this band. And so I got to the Hilton, and I grabbed an elevator, and I went down, and I ran across the street to the Radio Day stage, and I caught the end of the first Honey Glaze set of the week. And I was obsessed. Like I loved this band. So that was that.
I went to see them in your recommendation, and I saw them another time too.
That's the happy accidents that happen at South by is those things. And speaking of recommendations, you told me about a band called the Dooms that I saw a set of theirs before you got there. They played on Monday nights.
No, Monday. Yeah.
I think it was Monday night. I want to say, I'm looking here, but
you like them. I was happy that you went to check them out. Yeah. You have them down as your first set of the whole thing.
They were the first band that I saw. Yeah. They were the Dooms. It was at night at Mohawk Outdoor was where I saw them. Yeah. They were great.
I went to go see them later it was like one of my last sets that I saw. Yep. And that not only happy accident, that was one of my major mistakes was that I got sucked into the rumble with you.
Wait, hang on though. We got to make sure. Well, no. I want to make sure people understand the type of music because we've done that for all these others, and the Dooms we kind of skipped over because we both saw them, and I realized we're the only two involved in this conversation that know who they are.
Oh yeah, the Dooms, yeah,
yeah, right. They're I would call them like hard rock, not quite power pop, but catchy songs.
Do you like the term power punk? Pop punk?
Yeah, pop
like
punk.
That, not pop punk.
Yeah.
I would call them pop. Well, I think that gets categorized kind of as post-punk pop a little bit because you got to have that punk element in it, but it is poppy.
Yeah.
She's got a beautiful voice, but she can Elodie. She's got a beautiful voice, but she can also scream. They got some great fuzz as well. And I also just looking at the artist, looking at the band, looking what they're doing. I love their DIY ethos, and they're really I think they're one of the most underrated bands that I saw, quite frankly.
I would agree with that. So I'm
they
putting
don't have
links
a booking agent, by the way, for for anyone out there should check them out. I mean, I did tell a friend of mine that's a booking agent to go and talk with them. Met their whole team. They're kind of building up their team there as well, and yeah.
For any of the bands, every one of the bands that we're mentioning in the show notes at giggabpodcast.com, I'm putting a link to their South by Southwest schedule page. And the reason I'm doing that is that has links to everything the band offers, the YouTube, the Insta, if they have a website, whatever, it's all there. So you can go and like dig into these if there's something interesting. So,
yeah. And they're from Portland, and Elodie, the lead person in that band, runs a music school in Portland. So I kind of applaud them for just like doing it all, really. What else is a good one?
I dragged you to, not dragged you. I went to Antone's and you came and joined me. Antone's is 50 years old. It's a club in Austin.
Wait, one sec. I dragged you to Antone's the night before for snack time.
That is true.
I didn't drag you. I told you about it, and all of a sudden, I took a picture in the back of my head.
That's right.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry,
but yeah, Antone's on Friday night. Right? Was that Friday night? Yeah, probably it was.
Yes,
yeah. Friday night was when we saw Ian Moore. Ian Moore is an Austin staple. He is a blues rock guitar player from Austin. Great, amazing guitar player, amazing singer. Writes great songs, has great stage presence, really kind of embodies that classic Austin Stevie Ray Vaughan blues rock vibe, and tore it up for an hour at Antone's. I go out of my way to see Ian every time he plays South by. The last time I saw him was at Cooper's Barbecue when I was eating barbecue, and he was just playing there. I had never seen him at Antone's, and that's the right room for him. Like I used to play gigs with Ian Moore. I didn't play drums with him, but the band I was in, Murray Woods and Tangle Blue, we played some festivals with Ian Moore. We both kind of played the same kind of music. And so it was nice to go see him again. Yeah, for sure.
It was fun. It was interesting to go there because I sort of always associated for my own experiences, indie alt bands that are younger. And then I find myself at Antone's because you really recommended Ian Moore. And I was kind of listening to him. I'm like, I'm at Southwest. I'm listening to blues. Yes. I'm in Austin. Yes. Antone's super famous. This guy Shred. Yeah. I wasn't necessarily on board with it as being part of my Southwest experience until like the third song. And I'm like, holy fuck, this guy shreds so hard. And then I was completely on board, as you noticed. It was, it was absolutely, absolutely amazing.
And then I stuck around because some other friends of mine had recommended going to see this band called The Rumble featuring Chief Joseph Boudreaux Jr. It was this New Orleans thing. I still need to do the research on this because as soon as the band took the stage, like the backing, I'll call them the backing band for Chief Joseph Boudreaux Jr., but they all shined. Like there was no one that was in the spotlight more or less than anybody else. I recognize this band. I've seen this band before, and especially guitarist Ari Teitel, Teitel.
Yeah.
He's 30 years old from New Orleans. I've seen him play before, and he co-founder of the Rumble featuring Chief Joseph Boudreaux. I just don't. Maybe this band played last year, but I don't remember. I don't have them on any of my lists.
I mean, I hope they play every year. That was an incredible venue to see that band in.
It was like New Orleans party all the way through. They're a Grammy nominated band. And there's what, 6 of them on stage, 2 horn players, this guitar player, Ari, he plays like, it's groovy, don't get me wrong, but he is so precise with everything he does and yet still swampy and funky at the same time. It's like if you took somebody from Steely Dan and had him playing New Orleans funk. That's how this guitar player plays to me. Keyboard player, the organ player was great. I mean, they have a Hammond and a B3 and a Leslie set up at Antone's all week. And I always stand to house right because that's where I can hear the Leslie from the stage the best, and I freaking love it.
Yeah, you always want to stand where you can see the Leslie spinning. It's just like
spinning and hearing it, and just there is nothing like being on stage with a B3 through a Leslie. It is like, it's one of the few times that I will choose not to wear hearing protection on stage just because I want to soak in every bit of it. It's bad for me, and I love it. So, this Rumble band was just New Orleans party, and it was a great way to end that Friday night, which was a killer day. Earlier that day, Friday, I saw a band called Ali at the Radio Day stage. Again, that was pure chance. I heard somebody saying to a friend of theirs, "Hey, you got to go see Ali. Stick around for them." And I was like, "Well, I got nothing to do." Okay, great. And this was like in the afternoon. It was covered. It was hot. Like, sure. This was, how would you describe Ali? You saw him too.
I mean, I got a Khruangbin vibe from them a little bit.
Mostly instrumental.
Like Texas sort of reflecting off of the psych movement in the States. They're from Jakarta.
Correct.
So yeah, it's just another flavor of that psychedelic chill vibe that we're hearing so much from, also internationally,
Yep.
No knock on Ali, but it reminded me of Mdu Mokhtar without Mdu in it, because like,
I don't know Mdu Mokhtar, so
absolutely completely shreds. They're from God, the country's escaping me now, but one of those South Saharan, psychedelic rock bands like Chinarwen. They're wearing the white. They're in white robes and headwear essentially on stage. Super interesting.
Huh.
Ali's a little bit more chill.
Okay.
I didn't get a good example from them because it was like on Hotel Vegas patio and people were talking the whole time. But I would definitely go and see them again, 100%.
Cool. All right, you got one more? Let's each do one more, and then we got to wrap.
Only one more. Give me 2. All right, I'm going to mention, I need to shout out to Dutch Interior.
Okay.
A bunch of guys from LA and Long Beach. I got to hang out with them a little bit. I kept running into them. I run into them at high noon.
South by
you and I talked to them at Mohawk. And then I saw them the next night across the street from Empire at the Creek and the Cave. That was another happy accident because I went for an 8 p.m. set. Their set got moved to midnight plus, but at 8 p.m. there was this incredible band called Brutus the Eighth that was playing there. That's like part performance art, part post punk, which is another happy accident. It's just absolutely amazing. But yeah, Dutch Interior. I absolutely love these guys. They're coming on my show, and that was one of my happy accidents. But we have to talk about Frankie and the Witch Fingers also.
Yeah, Dutch Interior. They were.
Remember we saw them. We saw them indoor at Mohawk, and we really
they were hard rock and improvisational at times. Like they definitely went into that kind of jam mode. which is not something
hard rock.
see.
I don't know. I was listening. Also, their first album, I went back to listen to they're on their second album now. They have a new album coming out on Friday.
Okay.
And their first album is super mellow, almost all country. I was surprised.
Interesting.
But now they have enough lanes to, I don't know their second album well enough, but we did just see them. So they have enough lanes so that the blend that we were hearing and couldn't quite put our finger on.
Yeah.
I mean, it tracks.
Yeah.
It
Hard
tracks. It's
rock
super
is the wrong term. It's energetic rock is probably the right way that I would say it.
Yeah. It wasn't ambient or anything like that.
No.
And they had 6 players that could all sing.
Yes.
I was really pleasantly surprised. It's another happy surprise accident. I got to meet their whole team out at High Noon, and these guys are coming on my show. Frankie and the Witch Fingers, because they're amazing.
I don't agree. I never got that sense. I saw them at probably the worst club to see music. And that matters.
Had I not seen them at Mohawk earlier in that's the first time that I ever seen 2 sets from the same band.
Yeah.
At Southwest in the same day.
I get that. Yep.
Their set at Frankie, again, we talked about playing in front of industry people, and it was earlier in the day and the weather was amazing. So that wasn't really a drag on, kind of artist, physical vibe.
Yep.
They just absolutely brought it. They're this, they've been published a lot by the Levitation Festival on their live series as well, which is an Austin-based company associated with the Black Keys. They have a label called Reverberation Appreciation Society.
What kind of music are they, Josh? I gotta bring you back to earth here.
Psychedelic rock,
heavy psychedelic rock,
not psych post-punk.
Yeah, punk, psychedelic punk. There you go.
Punk, along the lines of King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard.
Yeah, but I don't think as musically. I don't want to say it. I don't want to use the word not as music or the term not as musically accomplished. Their songs are not like King Giz gives me prog vibes too, right? They definitely have that like prog element to what they do. Yeah. And Frankie and the Witch Fingers, the one show I saw was like off the rails, just like psychedelic punk. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it was not the heady prog element that King Giz has to me.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some songs are similar. Yeah. They don't get out there with the prog as much.
Yeah. There's not as much of the, like, they're doing math. I saw a terrible set of theirs.
With them now a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did not see, and there was moshing and we were getting,
but it was the sound. It was at Empire.
Oh, right.
They had the subs turned up too loud. It was just too, I don't know. I get really, as listeners to Gig Gab know, I am super picky about sound. And part of why I realized this year, part of why I pick some of the venues that I do is I know it's going to sound good.
Yeah.
And most of South by sounds like you can always hear the vocals. You can always hear that. But the sound, it was just muddy. I'm trying to pick between the last two, but I will talk about the Wellerman. This is a band of, it's mostly a cappella sea shanties is a good way to think about it.
Oh, that's right. That's the acapella. Oh, yeah.
I saw them on the list and I was like, whatever. And I happened to be walking right past it. It was like a chill night for me. It was Thursday night. I was kind of having a low energy night. I had seen a band in the Central Presbyterian Church, which was awesome. I went and see Honey Glaze there, which was perfect for this vibe where you're literally sitting in church pews. Mm-hmm. And that's last year for folks that remember. That's where I saw Nick Cave's record played in advance. I wasn't allowed to talk about it at the time, but then I could talk about it later. Great venue, sounds good. I was walking back. I went into this hotel called the Driscoll, which is haunted, they say, and I was aimed towards what really would be like a small room for like a dinner party. And there was a big stage set up and 20 like folding chairs, all of which were full. And I got there about 20 minutes before they were going to play. And I had seen on the thing that they were like, a cappella sea shanties. And like, how could I not? Like, obviously, I gotta, what is that about? Yeah, and it's not entirely a cappella. They did about half their set was a cappella and half was accompanied by 1 or 2 guitars or a keyboard. And there are 5 of them that sing. They met on TikTok doing duets. They are from 3 different countries on 2 different continents. They were a band for 2 years before they ever met each other in person. They're currently touring the U.S. and the way they sing together is astounding. They've got 2 guys that sing low end, 2 guys that sing in the middle, and then one takes the high parts. And one of the guys who sings low end, they called him Bobby Bass because obviously he was the shortest guy in the band, a short little skinny guy. And the low end that he is able to sing is I'll call it subhuman, but I don't mean to say that he is less than a human. It is just below what I've ever even imagined could come out of a human being. Wow. It's just astounding. And of course their blend together was perfect. And shout out to whoever the sound engineer was. I realized like 4 songs in that I could tell who was singing each part. And I'm like, why can I know that? I was like, oh my gosh, he has panned them in the room to match where they are on stage. So you just naturally look where they were. So it was like a perfect way to end Thursday night was the Wellerman. And I will leave it there. That's we gotta ripcord this because I gotta do band rehearsal. Plus, it's also been like an hour and 20 minutes, which is the longest Gig Gab ever. Although I knew that, I knew that going in. It was going to be you and me. In also, yeah. I mean, there's just too much to talk about, man. Too much to talk about. This was super fun, Josh. There are, as we say goodbye to everybody, there are 3 words that we like to say here on Gig Gab. And I know this is a crossover Gig Gab Roadcase. So how about I say, Roadcase listeners, thank you for listening. And Josh, I'll say, Gig Gab, always be performing, baby. I love it. Woohoo! Yeah, nice. Thanks, Dave. That was awesome. Thanks, Josh. We'll see you next time, everybody. All right. Cheers.